Hello there and welcome to my channel. Hopefully you can hear me. Yep. And it sounds like I don't have the echo like I had yesterday, so that's good. So I am Greg from Midnite Oil Software. And one of the things I want to do today is go over some of the changes Okay, can you all hear me now? Hello, testing 1, 2, 3. I think that should fix it. Thank you all for pointing that out. Okay, so we have audio now. So what I was saying is that when I switched to URP, the lighting got messed up. So one of the things I did was I added and I increased the intensity of the directional light. Just to make things a little bit brighter, so that the asteroids and even the interior of the cockpit was not showing up at all when it was in the shade. So I fixed that, and this just brightens up. It makes the whole thing a little bit less gloomy. The other thing I did was I added this area light inside the cockpit. It gave it a red tint. It's baked in. It's a point light, and it gives the whole cockpit kind of this war room feel. And then this HUD here, I changed the material for that to be unlit because it was disappearing when the cockpit went in the shade. So now the HUD is always available whether you're in the shade or fully illuminated. And you still get all of the directional light effects from the sun, so that you get the shadows and everything inside the cockpit, but everything is just a little bit less gloomy. The asteroids could still be a little bit brighter, I think, but I think that's a pretty cool effect. All right, so that's where we are currently. So the agenda for today is I wanted to, if I can switch over here to, hopefully you can still hear me. I've already tested the live stream setup, and it looks like things are working now. I've covered the changes that I forgot to mention yesterday. So what I want to do is I want to add the shield to the player ship and then make it so the player ship can take damage. So jumping back over to here. Right now, the player ship's way out of sync with its prefab. So I'm just going to go ahead and apply all my changes to my player ship prefab. So I'll be able to, when I create my player ship manager, to spawn these guys. And they'll all have everything up to date with all the changes that I've made. But if we want to go and look at the enemy ship prefab, if we expand this out, you can see that it's got a health bar, it's got a shield, and it's got a shield health bar. And none of these components exist on the player ship. And those guys are prefabs. So if I select the health bar here, we can see that this is the definition. It's got a health bar script on it. And if I go into prefabs, I think that would be ship systems, health bar. So it's basically just a progress bar. You know, it's got a background and a foreground. So it's just a graphical element. And then it looks like I'm using the same component for both the, go back up to my enemy ship. So I'm using the same component for both the ship's health bar and the shield health bar. But I think before we actually add the health bar, we really should work on adding the shield. And so when I created the shield, it's basically, it's got a mesh that kind of surrounds the ship, and I just gave it sort of a semi-transparent finish with this shield material here. And I added this little flash effect, so whenever it gets hit, I kind of increase the alpha of the shield and then kind of fade that out over time. Let's see, this should be opening up in my Rider editor. I haven't looked at this code in forever, by the way. So zoom in here, and I don't want to look at the skybox. Okay, so here's my shield. It's got a damage handler. It's got this flash color. And then I have a range of values for the fade out time. I can go from 1/4 of a second to a second. It looks like it defaults to 1/2 a second. And then the maximum and minimum intensity is -10 and 0. So I save off, I cache this property ID for the emission color on the shader. So we initialize this to our shield strength. We add listeners for when the health changes and when the object is destroyed. When the health changes, I start a coroutine to flash and fade the shields. So I basically, let's see here. I get the emission color from the renderer using that cached property ID. I initially set this intensity to max intensity, and then I fade it out. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the shield color to have that maximum intensity, and then I'm going to fade it out over time. And this is a coroutine. So this is going to basically run asynchronously. Every frame, it'll keep getting called until it completely fades out. So that's how I kind of get that shield hit effect, is I turn the intensity, basically the alpha of the shield material, to its maximum intensity, and then I fade it out over that fade out time. So when the shield gets hit, you kind of get that flash effect. Let's see now. Let's go and look at the actual prefab again. And I'm going to pick the player ship prefab. And then I'm going to drag in ship system shield onto the ship. So as you can see, it kind of engulfs the entire ship. And I want to change its layer to be player shield. So this is physics layer, because I don't want my projectiles to hit it when I shoot, but I do want enemy shield or enemy projectiles to hit it. And let's see what other things we can configure in here. Okay. If I go back and look at the enemy ship, and look at its shield. Okay, it doesn't look like there's really anything super special about that. Now let me just hit play, and I want to change my camera and go to my follow camera and see what that looks like. Can't see the shield at all. So I wonder, should that shield be visible? Oh, you know what? I'm wondering, I did apply it to the prefab, but I wonder if it automatically applied to the player ship. Yep, it's there. If I put the enemy ship on there, You don't see the shield. Maybe we only see the shield when we actually shoot the shield. That's what it looks like. So maybe I can fly around, wait for the enemy to hit me, and then see how that flash looks. And I also want to check to see, does that shield have strength? Like a number of points. It seems like it should take a certain amount of points of damage before it gets destroyed. It's been so long since I looked at this code, guys. So what is its max health? Shield strength. Ah, it's an scriptable object, which makes sense. So that would be in ship data. Okay. Okay, so it's not enough just to add the component. So our shield strength is 1,000. Let's make this something crazy like 10,000. I just want to make sure I can get shot plenty of times and see how the flash effect looks and everything before the shield finally gets destroyed. So I'll just fly around, switch to my follow camera. And there's an enemy over there. He should start shooting me. Boom, I saw a flash. I might have made that shield strength too strong. Okay, well, we know that the shield is working. So the next thing would be to add the shield health bar. So let's see, I'll go in here to my prefabs, ships, enemy, or player ship, and prefab ship systems. Actually, I think, yeah, health bar. Yeah, I'm going to want both, aren't I? I'm going to want the health bar for the player, and then I'm going to want a health bar that I'm going to rename shield health bar. And how does that get wired up on the enemy ship? Damage handler. For some reason, the prefab doesn't have the script. Interesting. This guy's got this script on there twice. Probably because I just removed it. I added it to the prefab. Foreground. So the image is the foreground. Okay, so let's go back to the player ship. Pick the shield, or pick the health bar. And this is wrong. Oh, this is the enemy ship. Still looking at the wrong one. So player ship, health bar. So we want the foreground image, and we want, let's see, where is that? Oh, I don't think I added the damageable component. Let's look at that. So the enemy ship has a damage handler. And the player ship does not. And what is the explosion prefab? Detonator and sanity. All right, so now going back into the shield, I should just be able to drag the player ship. Wait a minute, where am I? It was health bar, not shield. There we go. All right, and so now the shield should already have a health bar. I mean a damage handler. Yes. All right. Yep, doesn't look real pretty, but from the enemy's point of view, I don't have an enemy camera. From the enemy's point of view, that should look okay. Okay, now I don't handle the ship being destroyed, so that's something I'm going to need to do. I've only got a few minutes left here for my lunch break. But that was a good start. I guess I could show you all Bezier while we're in here. So I'm going to come up here. I've installed the Bezier plugin. If I click this and say Open Bezier, it opened it on a completely different monitor. So let's see, I am in my 3D space shooter tutorial. You can see where I used Bezier to generate multiplayer architecture diagrams. This is such a cool tool, guys. It integrates directly with your project. You can give it pages, which are basically rules that it can follow. There's also project rules, you know, where you can tell it all kind of stuff. Like one of the things I'm probably going to do is tell it my coding conventions and things. So when if I use it to generate any code, it'll follow my coding conventions and my rules, which is really cool. But you can also give it documents that it can refer to, and you can just tag them. So like if I select this here, I can tag that in my prompt, and it will actually refer to that document when it, you know, fulfills your prompt, which I think is really, really cool. So like right now, I've got the shield health bar selected in my Unity project. And so by default, it gives me the option to just tag that here, which I think is kind of cool. Let me just bring up the player ship, go back into Bezier, and I'll select player ship. And then I can also, if I want to tag scripts, I could tag things like damageable or damage handler, damageable. Is there player ship scripts? Player. That's probably good enough for now. Let's just see what Bezier does. Right now it's in agent mode. I want to switch it to ask mode. So it's just going to give me suggestions. It's not going to actually create any files or anything. And let me just say, how would I handle the player ship taking damage and allow the player ship to be destroyed? Let's just see what it says. So you're going to see how Bezier works. And I could, of course, do this myself. I just want to show you all what this tool is capable of doing and just how it thinks. Because it shows you its whole process. I'll help you set up damage handling for the player ship. Let me first examine your player ship prefab and related systems to see what's already in place. So it's looking at the player ship prefab. It's looking at the ship controller script, their AI ship movement controls, enemy ship controller. Looking at the projectile, that's smart. So it looks at the current implementation. So we have health tracking, taking damage, spawning explosion effects, triggering destruction events. That's interesting. I did not know that I was already integrating with health changed events in the ship controller. So, when an enemy projectile hits the player's ship, the collision detection fires on collision enter. We check for the eye damageable interface. We call the take damage method. That will fire a health changed event. And then if the health is less than or equal to 0, it can spawn the explosion prefab and then call the destroy ship method on the base class ship controller. So I think we have all of these. Yeah, I've already done that. So one thing I definitely want to do is I want to add UI elements for, right currently on our UI, we're showing our missiles and our blasters. We should probably also here show our shield health and ship health, our hull integrity or whatever we want to call it. So I definitely want to do that because we're not going to be seeing our health bars. These are mainly for other players to see. So on our UI, I'm not sure if I want to put it down here or up here, but we definitely want to add our shield and hull integrity to this UI. So that's definitely something I want to do. Let's see what Bezzy says for that. So this is adding a respawn instead of deactivate. So this, I don't want to necessarily do the way Bezzy is suggesting it because I want to create a player manager that's going to do this respawning logic. Tell me how to add UI elements to show the local players' shield health and ship health. And if I put this in agent mode, if there were any script changes or new scripts that need to be created, it would create them for me. I'd have to approve the change. It would basically give me an option to accept or reject any changes individually, or I could just say keep all, and it would keep all the changes. But the tool is pretty fantastic. And the fact that it understands my entire project, the problem with using things like ChatGPT or Gemini or Grok or, any of the other like web-based LLMs is they don't understand my project. Because this tool interacts directly with Unity, it understands my project, and every suggestion it makes is going to make sense in context of my project. So it wants me to create a new canvas, but I've already got a canvas. So I'm going to not even bother reading all the rest of this. I'm going to actually go up and re-edit my prompt. Here we go. I'm going to say edit. And I'm going to say use the existing canvas that we are using to show our missiles and blaster UIs. Should put some Jeopardy music on. By the way, Bezzy reached out to me and asked if I would be interested in doing sponsored videos. So I shouldn't include too much Bezzy content in these videos until they start paying me. But basically, this kind of give them a taste of what they could expect from me. But they had seen on their Discord server, I posted some show and tell things of how I'd used Bezzy for different things. And so, yeah, they've actually offered me a sponsorship deal. They wanted me to get back to them with what rates I would charge, which I did, and I hadn't heard back from them. I followed up a couple of times, and I'm wondering if my prices were just too expensive for their taste. So, Bezzy, if any of you are watching, reach out to me, and we'll see what we can negotiate a rate that you all are happy with. But, yeah, I love Bezzy, and I would be more than willing to do some sponsored videos for them. So I love the way it analyzes the existing implementation and then says, okay, now I understand your setup. It tells me what I've got here. So here's a step-by-step guide to add the Health and Shield UI to my canvas. So they want me to move the existing health bar. No, they don't. They're confused. I don't want to change the existing health bars. So you can see that it doesn't always give you the right answer up front. So it doesn't really understand exactly what I wanted, right? So what I will do is I will say the existing shield and health bars are for other players to see my shield and ship health from their perspective. I do not want to change those. Rather, I want to add additional UI elements alongside the blaster and missile UI elements to be seen from the player's perspective. Let's see what it says to that. So this would be what you would call vibe coding, kind of. Except that with vibe coding, the developers that are using AI typically don't have any understanding of the code that's being written. So I mean, I could understand based on their initial suggestions why it wouldn't work. And man, the sunshine from my window is creating this really weird effect on my green screen here. I turn my green screen a little bit so it's not as obvious. So they say basically add the UI hierarchy. So we got missile UI, blaster UI, and score. So we'll be adding player status UI, which will have health and shield. Nice. And it even tells me what values I would assign to the rect transform, what I should do to the image component. So this is basically everything I would do in the Unity inspector, right? And then, so then it gives me a script, player status UI. Attach and configure that script. It's telling me what things I need to assign. Position alongside the existing UI. Or if you prefer, together in the top left. So basically it's giving me ideas there. Styling tips for consistency. basically telling me to use the same font styles and colors and spacing and everything from the existing UI elements to match their style. Add a glow effect when taking damage. That's interesting. Add a pulse animation when health is critical. I like that idea. Add sound effects on damage. Well, I think I'm probably already going to be getting that from the projectiles when they hit me, because they do have audio sources in 3D space. And then test in play mode. Optional, add a critical health warning. So this is pretty cool. I'm sure you agree that this is pretty cool. And so, yeah, I'm getting toward the end of my lunch break here, so I think I'm going to wrap it up for today. But assuming I get a chance to stream tomorrow, we'll take on implementing some of this, and I think that'll be fun. So, for those of you that join me on the stream or those that are watching after, thanks for watching, and good luck on your game development journey.